Well, today on Rethink Real Estate, it's one of the Harcourts originals. We've got Dianna McGarvin. Now, Dianna was number 6 for all of Harcourts North America last year, but has been on an upward trajectory that has actually sort of bucked the trend, so to speak, in the sense that, as I explained on the podcast a little bit, 2021, 2022 were people's sort of peak years, where Dianna's sort of gone in an upward trajectory over the last couple of years. And ultimately, not 2023 or 2024 going down like most of the industry. She's continued to go up. And I think that somebody that's been in the real estate industry for 25 years to have some of the best years and starting to come really big time into fruition, and also being an independent realtor. And what I mean by that, being an independent realtor, no one on her team, and being okay with that. I think that that's one of the real big things that I get out of this, is that it's okay not to build a team. We talk about so many different things in all of this and so many different dynamics, is that it's definitely a fruitful episode that you should tune into. Thanks so much. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Dianna, welcome to Rethink Real Estate.
Thank you for having me.
So you are one of the original Harcourts people from when Harcourts first came to North America, correct?
Yes, I am. I have been with the company from the very beginning here.
But that wasn't the start of your real estate journey in any way, shape, or form. You started, before that, but at the same time, have you always done real estate in South Orange County?
Yes. Business, yeah. When I started selling, it was here in Dana Point, South Orange County.
Who was it with? What company?
I started with Coldwell Banker.
Okay. And then have you been with anyone else?
I was recruited by the local RE/MAX.
Okay.
And so I was with RE/MAX for a short period, and then they converted to Altera.
Yes.
And then that whole situation happened, and Bob brought Harcourts in, and then I went over to Harcourts.
I guess that one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you on the podcast is because, you, Callistra, and I have a really good relationship outside of the real estate business. But the most interesting thing that I've seen from you is that last year you were number 6 for all of Harcourts North America. We have one of the highest average productions per agent in the entire country. But one of the cool things that I thought about that, Dianna, about the dynamics of your business is much different to the dynamics of many other businesses that you're seeing sort of progress in the real estate world. Like, you understand this better than anyone else, is that the way that real estate is going is people are like, oh, I'm building a team. I've got 10 agents around me. We're collectively putting our deals together. You essentially were the number 1 individual real estate agent for Harcourts North America last year.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just you.
Just me. Yeah.
Why?
I have a transaction coordinator, but otherwise it's just me.
It's not, yeah, but again, it's the transaction coordinator, everybody in California typically has one. But yeah. I think that, can I ask why you've chosen not to go down the team side of things? Is it just because it works, or?
Yeah, I think it's because it works. I mean, most recently I'm getting a lot of pressure from different individuals telling me that I should have an assistant. But that sounds daunting to me, to have to hire someone and train them. I don't have time for it, although, it might be good at some point. But yeah, I think the ease of it, and I'm able to handle it, and things are working. I'm in a groove, so I'm okay with it.
Well, I think that because I love the raw nature of what your business ultimately is, because the thing that I don't get from you in any way, shape, or form in any of our dealings in business or personally is there's no entitlement. And what I mean by that is that it was funny. I was actually talking to somebody that's only just gotten into real estate yesterday, and they're like, well, what is the major mistake that you see people make? And I'm like, well, the first year they're so naive that they just do everything the way that they're told and they just get it done. And their first year is the best year they have in real estate, because then the second year is worse because they become entitled that, oh no, I don't have to do that stuff anymore. And I don't have to do this. I don't have to reach out to people consistently. I don't have to build my database. I don't have to do any of that stuff. They become, entitled. I think that there's this energy about your business that I love, because it's you doing every single part of it, which I think in turn helps you from a repeat and referral perspective. Would you say that's fair?
I think so. Yeah. Because, you're not relying on someone else to be taking care of it. It's getting done. If it's not getting done and business isn't good, then you have no one else to blame but yourself.
You've been around, the Orange County real estate market or the Southern California real estate market for quite some time. What's
Yes.
the biggest change that you've seen from an industry perspective locally in your eyes? Have you seen things like, because again, you're in Bob Wolf's office, you've seen, Bob's progression of his career, you've worked closely with him along the way.
Yeah.
What level of influence has he had on your business? Because he's he's got a few people not on his team that produce for him, but realistically, more so, he's more an independent runner. Do you think he's had an influence in that sense?
Oh yeah, Bob's had a huge influence on certain things that I have adapted by watching him and what he does. And they're simple things, like mailing a postcard. I mean, I know snail mail, right? Nobody does that anymore, but if you're consistent with it, and it's a jumbo size postcard, right? You're still getting in front of your people, and it doesn't cost much.
No.
Thank you cards. Bob was a big influence in reminding me that we all need to be sending out thank you cards. I do anniversary cards. So I have a list in my database of the clients' anniversaries, and I usually do it the first of the month. I send out cards to everyone for that month from, I keep track of what year that they closed. So some of those things I did, I picked up from Bob. I think that he was a big influence
Yeah.
on some things that I've put in place that have helped my business grow.
I'm fascinated with your business, though, over the last couple of years, as I already mentioned. If you look at the progression that you've had, there's no doubt about this, though, Dianna. Like, there's a great deal of people that would either be listening to this or that you and I both know. 2022 or 2021 was the crescendo of the best year in real estate that they ever had. But I would go as far as to say 98% of people, when it comes to 2023, had a worse year than 2022 and are on track to have a worse year in 2024 than what 2022 or 2023 probably were.
Yeah.
Your business has really trended in the opposite direction, though. You saw maybe there was definitely, you could see some progress in 2021, and then 2022 was obviously an exceptional year for yourself, huge year. And we'll talk about some of the transactions that you were part of in that year, because I think that there's some really serious learning around that. But why do you think your business hasn't taken the upward trajectory to then go back down again when the marketplace has softened? What do you think has sort of sparked or ignited in your business? It's not to say that you weren't a performer prior to that, because you were consistently always in the top 20 every month for us as a network, but it sort of seems that it's gone to another level and it's stayed at that level.
I think a lot of it has to do with time, right? That's a big part of it. I mean, it's been 25, over 25 years now. So that's a big part of it, as well as just staying in touch with your past clients. And, my tagline is a name friends recommend. And I think over time that sticks, right? People remember most of my business comes from past clients and the referrals. That's really, really a big part of it. So it's, again, going back to nurturing your database of people and your past clients and asking for the referrals. And then the simple things like I just talked about, right? Thank you cards and mailers. One thing that I have started to do in the last couple years, and that was thanks to listening to this podcast and hearing you and Chris talk about the digital farming, right? Creating a list of our database and putting that into Facebook, right? And marketing our ads around the people that we know. And it doesn't cost much, and you're in front of them consistently.
There's a part of this, though, that, like, I've got to be honest, if you, let's say that you didn't do the Facebook stuff, there's a part of your business that, from a repeat and referral perspective, I think that there's something that you're a person that this is going to sound bad. You're difficult to go to dinner with or have a drink with, and the reason why you're difficult, because you probably know 3 or 4 people within the restaurant every time you go.
Yeah.
So I think longevity is definitely one thing, but then obviously the networking side of things. But how is it from a database perspective that you've managed to gather people's information and ask for referrals? Because there is a skill in all of that. because I would go as far as to say that, and tell me if I'm wrong here, is that out of 100% of your database, I'd say 50% of your database would be people that you would classify as friends or close colleagues, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you nurture, what's the fine? Because I've never been good at it. I've never been good
As
at,
far as asking someone for a referral?
yeah, correct. Like, because I've never been good at having business and friendships. It's like, no. You're just like, do you know what I mean? It's just not something I'm good at.
I
How have you maintained it?
I think it's just I think it's just natural. People trust me, right? And when you're in a conversation with them, they know you sell real estate, so then they're asking you about it, what's going on with the market, and you know, you find the right time to say, and if you ever know anyone who's looking to, buy, sell, or even lease, let them know, call me or give me their information. I always love to help your referrals, so I think it's just a matter of saying it in a way that doesn't, the more you say it, I remember when I first started asking for it, it was very uncomfortable, right? When I was a newer agent, right? Even when you've been in the business for like 10 years, it's just uncomfortable
Yeah,
to say that to someone. But I think the more you do it and the more you see the response of people sending you business, it becomes easier.
that's good. I want to change sort of speeds a little bit here because there was a big listing that you had last year. Sorry, not last year, year before. Was it like, no, it was last year. It was
Mhm.
last year.
Yeah.
There was a big listing. Now, again, I want to talk about what's naturally your average sale price?
Oh, probably more in the range of like, 1.5 million, somewhere around there, right?
And this
If you average
specific,
it all out.
if you average it all out, but this
Yeah.
specific property, what did you sell it for in the Strands?
We sold for 11 million.
Most agents would be very intimidated
Yeah.
and think that they're not worthy to go into that category. But it sort of fit you like a glove, that whole situation.
Yeah. Well,
Could you?
again, they were past clients, right? So I originally met them because they were referred to me.
Mhm.
And she was actually an agent in another state.
Oh,
So they were referred to me, and I ended up showing and selling them a property that was in the 3 million range.
right.
And the agreement was she'd get a referral. And then we became friends, which is what happens with me and most of my clients, right? You end up becoming friends with them in some sort of a way. Maybe you're not best friends, you don't see them all the time, but you become so close. You're basically speaking to someone almost every single day for at least, 2 or 3 months,
Yep.
and you end up becoming close. So this was a second home for them. And so whenever they would come, we would get together and have lunch or go to dinner. And we became friends that way. So just stayed in touch with them. They loved it here so much, they decided that they wanted to move closer to the ocean. And that's when, they called out of the blue one day and said, "Hey, we're here. Can you show us property along the coast? We want to look at these different neighborhoods." Fell in love with that house in the Strand and bought it. And then we worked on getting the other house ready for sale, and we ended up selling that too. So it was multiple transactions with these people. And so then, life changes happen. They weren't intending to sell it so soon because I really just sold it to them a few years ago
Right.
uh, and had to sell it. So they called and said, "We're going to sell the house," and they hired me. So I took it on. I mean, it was not intimidating to me. To me, it was just like anything else I would do. If it was a $200,000 condo, I'd do the same thing that I would for an $11 million listing.
And I think that that's the mindset that I'm trying to point out is that I think that there's this sensationalization that has happened in our industry with the Oppenheimers or the
Oh,
Altman
for sure.
brothers or all this stuff where people think that that is rarefied air when ultimately, Dianna, you didn't do anything really differently to the way that you sell a 1.5 to $3 million property to a 10, 12, $15 million property. It's the same process.
Yeah. I mean, really, it is. I mean, maybe you did a little bit more with, your video footage and things like that, right? But yes, in general, the same exact process.
Yeah.
Same, follow through with all of your showings and getting feedback and communicating that to the seller. And, helping them get the house ready for sale, right? I mean, you would think that a house of that caliber would be ready to go. It wasn't. We
No.
had to, we had to clear things out. We had to do some touch up painting, things like that, right? To get it
Yep.
show ready. So these are all the things that you do with any listing. And then, getting it through escrow. That was a tricky one. That property was in and out of escrow a couple of times.
Yeah.
And, it started to wear on my seller, but in the end we got it done.
How do you manage that situation? Because it was a prickly escrow period,
Yeah.
okay, and it came in and out. How do you, like, I know that your relationship certainly goes into bat, and it certainly emphasizes, the fact that you probably need to work on the relationship first, and everything else will sort of take care of itself at that point. But how do you not become the villain in those situations?
I think constant communication.
Mm,
So if you're constantly in communication with your clients from the day you get an offer all through the negotiating,
yeah.
keeping them updated along the way, every little step that's happening, um, so that when a buyer doesn't perform and you have to tell them that they're canceling, you're not the villain. You've kept them informed of what was happening and that the potential of that could happen. So it's just really about being consistently in communication with your clients.
Do you
And
know
not,
there's
you can't be afraid to tell them the hard stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
no, it's right.
I mean, it is, who wants to pick up the phone and have to tell them, oh, our buyer didn't put their money into escrow and, they're not performing. So you have the choice. You could wait it out or you can serve them a notice to perform. I mean, it's our job as an agent to communicate those things to them.
And give them their options of their next steps.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's this parallel, like, one of the most consistent individuals that I know, and you know her as well, is Shelly Griffin from a perspective up in
Yeah.
Oregon. Um, there's this such parallel between you and her. Like, one, she's only got one buyer's agent that sort of helps her out a little bit. She's pretty independent on her own perspective.
Yeah.
But second is that there's one correlation that everyone asks me about. Well, why is Shelly successful? It's because she's not afraid to speak to her sellers. So many agents are designing the process of real estate where they don't have to communicate with their people as much because they're afraid of telling them, they don't have a lot on their property, or they do have a lot on their or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But Shelley spoke to me one time about, no, I text them about things that I kind of really know the answer to, but I just want them to hear from me, or I call them about something just offhandedly so they hear from me. You and your business, like, you are not afraid to communicate in any way, shape, or form if it's a buyer relationship or a seller. So I think that that's probably stems to, a lot of people think that there needs to be a lot of work to build a relationship with somebody. But like you said, there's that 3-month period of time where you're communicating with them every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And there's that really big foundational element to that relationship to then build on.
Yeah. And sometimes, you've got clients who really need a lot of handholding. You're taking calls at night when you don't want to be, right? But you have to talk them through. I mean, I think part of our job, and I may have heard Shelly say this too in the past, uh, we become therapists, right?
Yeah.
We're not licensed, but somehow that's part of this job. And if you're not a good listener, you aren't really going to do very good in this business. You've got to listen to your clients and hear what's going on with them and help them out. And then again, everyone communicates differently, right? Some people want to talk, some people want to text, some people only want emails, but you just, whatever their way of communicating is, stay in touch with them.
Do you know, you bring up an incredibly good point? I did an episode with Chris the other day, who you referenced already, where we did this episode where it was preferred element of communication, how
Yeah.
so many people in their database don't have a preferred element of communication with the clients that are in their database. Because, like, I know several people that, like, let's talk about our Harcourts network for a second, is that I know several people that I'm really close with that go, Ben, I don't see the emails that come out from the network, but if we send a text message, they see them.
I see that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's one of those communication elements, and you bringing that up is just, people might think that's a small thing, but I think that, again, it stems to the repeat and referral and the relationship element of your business, is communicating with them in their preferred element and being conscious of that.
Oh, I think it's a very big thing. Definitely. Yeah.
Indeed.
Right.
I want to change topics, and I want to shift to more of an industry thing at this point, Dianna, because the one thing that both Kalish and I are very impressed with at a recent dinner that you and I had is that there's there's this level of independence that a lot of people have had to have with the new changes in the buy side commissions and all of this type of stuff. And a lot of people have either buried their head in the sand, have waited for somebody else to give them the information. You had really sort of put a charge in front to go, no, I'm going to grab this with two hands. I'm not going to be intimidated by it. I'm going to really try and educate myself as much as possible, probably because there wasn't enough education out there from a network perspective and all these different things.
Yeah.
There's so many people that want to turn around and blame others that they didn't give, enough resource or whatever. You took it head on to sort of figure it all out. First and foremost, we're recording this when the changes are only just really fresh at this point. So
Right.
I wouldn't mind hearing your point of view on that. But before we do so, with the new changes in the industry when it comes to buy side and everything along those lines, what sort of stance did you take and what advice could you give to people in a moment of change? Because you just really handled that head on.
Yeah, well, okay, I've been doing this 25 years or just a little over now. Our industry has gone through many changes along the way. And each time something new would come along, we'd have to learn something new, right? I mean, when I first started, the internet wasn't there for us. So that was a big change. And then, forms and contracts are constantly changing. And I find that our car, right? If you're connected in your account with them, you can set it up so that you get emails from them. So, and
Right.
you get a lot of emails, but I just kind of glance through to stay updated. And if you're paying attention, that's where you find the information. So then when all of this came down at us, it happened so quickly, right? We've been waiting and waiting to see what was going to happen. And then all of the changes with the forms and everything happened so quickly. They started advertising webinars, right? I think I just signed up for as many as I could sit and listen to so that eventually you get familiar with everything.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, I haven't had a chance to sit down. I've had to have a buyer sign a contract. The buyers that I was working with before the change went into effect, we didn't need to sit and sign. I talked to them about it.
Sure.
But I haven't had to actually go down that road yet with them. But I've been having conversations with the sellers. A lot of sellers are still open. They're like, yes, of course, we're going to offer compensation. Some are saying, in the beginning, right, with the news that was coming out, oh, so we don't have to pay commission anymore. Well, you never had to. That was always negotiable.
Right.
But it would, do you service to consider that you might want to, keep that option open so that you have exposure, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we just have to, you just have to get in and you can't wait for anyone else to tell you what's going to go on.
Yeah.
It's another thing of being on my own, right? You just have to do it, right? So if changes are coming, you better learn it because you can't expect someone else to do it for you.
I love that, Dianna, because there's so many people that rely on people within their team to then sort of, again, this is a generalization, and I'm sorry that I'm generalizing real estate agents, but I've just felt like that's all I've been dealing with for a long time, are people that make excuses not to speak to clients, or be it, I call them arm's length realtors. Like, again, with all due respect to a few people that I've been on the phone to today, it's auction week. I've got auctions coming up on Thursday, and I had one agent go, Ben, how is the follow-up going? Literally asked the auction team how the follow-up is going. And again, we're there to help follow up the people of interest after the agent has followed up. I responded, I'm like, I don't know. How is it going? And they're like, well, I haven't spoken to anybody. I'm like, why are you getting like, oh, well, no. Jill on my team was meant to be following up. It's like, no, you're the agent. This is bullshit.
That's the problem with getting teams sometimes, right? Because then you're relying on other people and you're not doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, don't get me wrong. There is a benefit to having a team if you can run it effectively, and the client is the key focus of all of this. I want to go back to a comment that you said earlier. I'd love to talk a little bit about the situation of you and an assistant at the moment, because there's no doubt that your production definitely warrants maybe 3 or 4 assistants. But that being said, I'd love to understand the struggle that you're going through mentally with that at the moment, or not struggle, just a thought process, because you might speak to somebody that's on the podcast listening at the moment.
Sure.
So tell me about, what are you thinking? Who's telling you that? What are your thoughts behind it with an assistant?
Yeah. Who's telling me that? People in my life that are either, friends, acquaintances that are in the business, or family members. or, they don't know what's all involved, but they just see how much I'm working and how much business I've had. And they're saying, well, you should have an assistant. But, they don't, always necessarily understand what that entails, right? I mean, yeah, an assistant would be great. But again, it goes back to then I've got to train them. What if something falls through? I think here's the answer to your question why. Control. I don't want to give up the control,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at some point, it might be wise to.
Do you like? I think control is certainly something that I struggle with. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
And it's probably one of the reasons that whilst our company is a good sized company and I think it'll grow, it probably might stifle a bit of our growth. Is my level of control in things. Do you think it'll hurt your growth?
It could, sure. Yeah, it's possible.
But the part of that is that I think that ultimately I'm okay with that. I'm pretty comfortable with having a bit more control.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too because at least I know that it's getting done, right?
Mm.
I'm not relying on Jill who's not doing the follow-up that I taught her how to do. See, that's the part of having an assistant or a team that to me is daunting, like because then now I'm becoming like a management. I just want to focus and do my business, and I have my system set up. I'm in the routine of doing it all, and it's working. So I don't know why I need to change it right now. If it wasn't working, then I could see maybe why I might need to. But again, it goes back to the control. I think I'm more concerned about it not being done the way I want it done.
So as we round out the episode, I usually sort of finish it off, as you know, is with just some of the more personal elements of things. Well, not really personal, but like podcasts, books, resources that you use on a daily perspective, life hacks. I sort of like to try and ask as many guests as I possibly can, around that. Can we start off with podcasts and things that you listen to, or industry things, or even just some personal things that you listen to that you get a kick out of? Like, for example, my guilty pleasure is Smartless. Has nothing to do with anything. I just think that they're hilarious on the podcast. But is from a podcast perspective, do you have any recommendations or ones that you listen to regularly?
Well, I enjoy your podcast. I think that, you can pick up some tips here and there that are very useful. I love Buffini's podcast. I think it's very motivational and uplifting. And he also has really good information. I started recently listening, I can't think of the name of it, but Trevor Noah's podcast.
Okay.
It's good information as well.
Is that a real estate based one? I don't know Trevor.
No, that's Trevor Noah. He's the comedian, and talking about world events and things that are going on. The other one that I've started listening to that's more motivational and also informative about like life and yourself is Mel Robbins.
Mel's great.
Yeah, she's great. I really have been enjoying her podcast.
We tried to get her at conference one year. I just wanted to, dream. She was $250,000 for a speaking fee. That's how good she is.
Yeah, she's really good. Well, then we'll just listen to her podcast. Right?
Yeah, I think. Indeed.
She's really good.
Are you a book person? Do you read a lot?
I used to, and then I got out of the habit, so I don't have any good recommendations for books. I don't even listen to books on audio. That's not. Podcast is really what or reading, articles that might come through an email. But yeah,
I know that
I sit down and read, and it just doesn't happen.
I'm gonna cut to a bit of a life hack for a second, because from an observation perspective, Dianna, is that you do work a lot, but you're somebody from a production standpoint that you're at the top 1% of the entire industry from a production standpoint, but yet I think that you're pretty good at the work-life balance side of it. Like Claire, your daughter, you spend a lot of time with her. You do take your trips away. How do you stay conscious of your work-life balance? Because again, to the outside perspective, I don't think I've ever seen you rattled. I don't think, and maybe this might be one of those concepts of the duck above water, the feet are, churning below, but obviously everything seems calm on top. But do you have a secret to a work-life balance in any way?
Yeah, I think that, it probably was about 5 or so years ago. And Kevin Sanchez, our broker, we were doing our, business plans for the year. And it was, put personal, goals down. It doesn't have to just be all around business. And one of them was like, work out 5 days a week, right? So I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. So I have made a commitment to make sure that I work out.
Right.
I don't always stick to 5 days a week, right? But at least I go to, I go to Orange Theory, I go to Pilates, and I take walks, and then I give my body rest.
Right.
I'm very into making sure that I'm taken care of, right? I get massage, I get facials, I have my hair done regularly. Um, those are things that are really important to take care of yourself, because in the beginning, when I was first new agent, I did get burnt out because I wasn't doing those things. Meditation has been very helpful to me as well. I think it's helped to heal a lot of inner stuff, and that's also, I think, affecting my growth in my business, right? Because you're taking care of old stuff that we hold on to and letting it go. So all of those things, and then play hard, right? Work hard, play hard. I
That's
don't
right.
get a chance to go on long, like 2 week vacations,
No.
but I take a lot of short, long weekends, right? I go shorter vacations that are a long weekend, right? For 3 or 4 days, and go. I do that more often throughout the year. I think that is helpful to keeping your head above water and keeping your
Do you
head
know?
clear.
Out of all the podcast episodes I've done and asking people, those life hacks, I haven't had somebody say, like, it is like, go get your hair done, go get your nails done, go get a massage, things like that. The mini resets.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a gem when it comes to the balance side of things.
Yeah, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, who's going to take care of us?
Yeah, exactly
Nobody,
right.
right? And then we're just going to run ourselves into the ground working, stressed and not sleeping good. And I got this new, I bought this, it's a mat that gives off magnetic frequencies, right?
Oh, I've heard of these. I've heard
Right?
of it.
Yeah, and it
Yep.
has infrared and far infrared, because I wasn't sleeping good.
Right.
Part of that is, the time in life and my body's going through changes, right? But I
Right.
was
Right.
waking up a lot in the middle of the night and not sleeping through the night, and I need my sleep.
Yep.
I got that, and I try and lay on it a couple times a week, right? And my sleep has increased. Like, I'll sleep for 7 hours straight.
Wow.
Yes, it's really
I
been
may need to talk to
very
you. We were talking
helpful.
about that beforehand. The 8 sleep thing that I got, I love that thing. Maybe I need that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't put it on your bed. It's
Okay.
something that you would like either put on the floor, or you can put it on your couch or whatever. And, they actually have different sizes of it. So you don't have to have the big mat. But
Right.
yeah, it's been tremendously helpful to me. And also, it helps to keep you calm. It does. I
Right.
think it helps. So I think with the working out and the other stuff and that, just doing all of it has helped me to handle the stress of this business, because this business is extremely stressful.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on Rethink Real Estate. I've known you for a very long time, the whole time that we've been in North America. But again, it's been a pleasure not only to watch the business and watch you guys, watch what you are doing in it and the growth that you've had, but also from a personal perspective, Clister and I have really enjoyed getting to know you. So we thank you and we appreciate you thoroughly.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thanks for coming on. And again, is that you're an avid listener of Rethink Real Estate. So I don't know, how do you feel about listening to yourself in your own episode? Do you think you'll do it?
I think I will. I probably wouldn't have in the past, but doing those videos that I do and having to listen to my voice on recording, I'm okay with it now. Now it doesn't bother me.
That's good. That's great. Well, again, thanks, Dianna, for sharing.
Thank you.
So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.